So the chairman of the Tobago Business Chamber, Martin George, warns Chief Secretary Farley Augustine to stop warring with the government. Mr. George is here with us this morning. Mr. George, good morning.
Yes, hi, good morning to you, Marlon, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And Marlon, I must tell you, I have something very major scheduled for today.
Yes.
But despite that, my commitment to Trinidad and Tobago remains, and I said I will still come and do this show, but I want all of Trinidad and Tobago to pray for me today.
All right, Mr. George, well, we will not go further, but we will say some prayers for
Hello?
you. All right. So, Mr. George, tell us, what are your concerns? I know you do have concerns if you're telling the Chief Secretary to stop warring with the government. So what are your concerns this morning?
Well, the thing is, Marlon, I have noticed a trend whereby it appears that the goodly Chief Secretary seems to think that we are in some kind of constant war between Trinidad and Tobago. And that's not the case. And, it is quite possible to advocate strongly and vociferously for Tobago's interest without escalating it into a war of words or, making it a dogfight between Trinidad and Tobago. The fact is, Marlon, there may be times where people may disagree, but the point is you can disagree without being disagreeable or without being disrespectful. And I have noticed a trend whereby it seems that this constant sniping and this, attacking seems to be, a favored style. Maybe it wins, favor with some of his supporters, but at the end of the day, in terms of a long-term plan, it's not something that is sustainable or workable. When you're talking about the governmental allocations, there's nothing in the budget, nothing in the legislation, nothing in the laws of Trinidad and Tobago which mandates that, you can force the government to say, well, look, I must get this by this timeline. I mean, of course, practically one would expect that, yes, the disbursements would be made in a timely manner. And if they are not, of course, you're entitled to, make your claims and say, hey, listen, yes, we need to have the monies in order to have our developmental plans proceed. But the approach of this confrontation all the time and, always wanting to, make it a dog fight, as I say, it may, win you, little parochial pleasure, and you may see it as the big man in town among your supporters. But in the grand scheme of things, if we are thinking in terms of world leaders and world class politics, it's not a sustainable formula in the long term.
So we are continuing our discussion with the chairman of the Tobago Business Chamber, Mr. Martin George. Mr. George, you're back with us?
Yes, Marlon,
yes.
I'm here.
So I was making the point, Mr. George, that if the Chief Secretary believes that he is between a rock and a hard place, and he's aggrieved and he is attempting to take legal action against the government for the betterment of the people of Tobago, why shouldn't he use these options that are available to him?
Well, the thing is, Marlon, even though we're attorneys, we always advise persons that, look, litigation you use as your last resort. It's not your option of first choice. And even though he says he's been in discussions for 2 years with no seeming end, the fact of the matter is, if you are embarking upon litigation, then any sensible attorney who is guiding and advising you would first try to work it through to see what's the end game. In other words, are you likely to be successful in the litigation? You don't just jump into litigation for the sake of saying, well, I'm going to sue you. You always try to work it through. You look at the law, you look at your decided cases and authorities. And in this scenario, I would think that it is not an easy path to any victory at all. So therefore, unless it's just gun talk and gambage, by the Chief Secretary, one doesn't see any realistic pathway to victory if it is that you are just saying, well, look, I'm going to embark on litigation to force central government to send my allocations. If that's the case, then all the regional corporations could say they were going to do the same. So, I mean, you have to really analyze it carefully before going forward with it. If it is that there is a realistic prospect of success and you can see that, well, yes, there is a way that you can actually make this work, then, of course, if it is that you are without any other options, you're free to pursue it. But it's something that you ought to consider carefully and not just throw it out as, platform rhetoric or, yes, picong on the political stage.
Yeah, and that takes us to our next question, Mr. George. Doesn't politics have a morality of its own, and this is just a part of the politics?
Well, even though politics has a morality of its own, Marlon, common sense is a thread that is supposed to run through all of our thoughts, words, and deeds. So regardless of the fact that you may want to make yourself look, important in a certain way, it is supposed to still be grounded in some sort of common sense and reason and rationale, because at the end of the day, you will be judged by your actions.
Yeah. I suspect what you're also saying, Mr. George, is that this, what can we say, this back and forth, tit for tat between the government and the THA can do more harm than good for the people of Tobago.
Yeah. I think it can do more harm than good because, even though you may be on different sides of the political divide, sometimes maturity, respect, and, statesmanship can reap more rewards than, always going down in the gutter politics, and fighting down in the mud. Sometimes you need to show that you're the bigger man. You need to show that you're the statesman, that you are the one that persons will always respect. And that sometimes can bring better results.
You think, Mr. George, that there's still room to mend the relationship between the THA and the government, and more so Mr. Augustine and the Prime Minister?
Well, the fact of the matter is the THA is bigger than Mr. Farley Augustine. So let's understand that. So, if it is that there is a certain direction that the THA is taking during his administration, it doesn't mean that the THA is, that it's cast in stone in terms of that direction. So he has chosen this pathway, and I think that he can still, turn it around and, change the approach and come with something that shows that you are more suited for, being a national leader rather than just being, the village bajon, which basically is how he's portraying himself, in these scenarios.
Yeah. Mr. George, if there isn't anything more on this issue, I'd like to put something else on the table. Every time, Mr. George, you join me, I like to throw things out at you. And in all cases, you have given great perspectives on everything that I've thrown at you. I want to ask you now, as a former member of the Police Service Commission, over the past few days, we have been seeing and hearing a story, and it's being reported widely, that there is now a controversy brewing with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service over the recent promotion of hundreds of police officers. I don't know if you would have seen it in the media, and it involves over 800 and something, in fact, 859 constables. Judging from what we're seeing in the media, do you have a perspective on it at all? And who should be saying something about it? Is it the Police Service Commission, the TTPS? Who is to speak on it?
Well, the thing is, we have to understand that the Police Service Commission has oversight over the upper executive of the police service, and they also have their disciplinary role and function in relation to matters of promotion, so that is definitely an area that is within their purview. So it may be incumbent upon them, if they assess the facts, to be able to come out and make a statement in terms of how the upper executive of the police service has managed this promotion issue. But it's also even more incumbent upon the commissioner of police as leader to come out and make a statement and clarify the issues. And if it is that mistakes were made, then you offer the appropriate mea culpa, and you say, well, look, hey, all right, I'm going to get this fixed. I'm going to get this sorted out. Because, you see, part of leadership involves us being able to take responsibility. And that's something that we're not very familiar with in Trinidad and Tobago. We always, good at passing the buck and passing blame and, shifting, responsibility. But if you are there and you are a leader and you are in charge, then you have to be able to take responsibility and say, hey, listen, I am going to deal with this. I'm going to get this fixed. So I think that you have, the twin pillars of responsibility there, both in the police commissioner and I think also in the police service commission, because they need to show that they are actively monitoring and on top of situations such as these. And a statement by them may go a long way to restoring the public's confidence in their role and function as an oversight body appointed by the president.
Yeah, I suspect, Mr. George, it's another issue which has really rocked the public's confidence.
Marlon, I'm losing you once again. I'm not hearing
All right,
you.
let's try again, Mr. George. You're hearing me now?
Right, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I was just saying that I suspect this, again, is another issue that has really rocked the public's confidence when it comes to the TTPS. If I can just read one more paragraph. Some of the officers were said to have been erroneously promoted, while others complained that while they met the criteria for promotion, they were bypassed. Police Commissioner Erla Christopher has since written to the Deputy Police Commissioner in charge of administration, Ramnarayan Samaru, seeking further details on which officers were erroneously promoted. So I suspect this is a major issue that has happened, and it is a source of concern. It should be a source of concern for many out there.
It certainly will be. And, even within the police service itself, you're going to have dissatisfaction. You're going to have dissension among the ranks, because persons will feel, well, look, they are being bypassed while others who are unmeritorious are being promoted over them. So, it does create a rather uncomfortable scenario. And it goes back to the root of the problems that we've had bedeviling the police service for years or maybe even decades. And it appears that we are yet unable to find a suitable fix.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have suggested is that you have a permanent police service commission instead of a part-time commission as we have. If you have a permanent commission, then I think they would be able to achieve a whole lot more in terms of their role, in terms of oversight and management of the executive of the police service.
Mr. George, as always, thank you very much for the education this morning. We wish you all the best for what you're going to embark upon today, and we'll speak to you very soon again. Bye for now.
Thank you, Alan. Your thoughts and prayers are much appreciated, along with the nation. I appreciate that, and the very best to you and to Trinidad and Tobago.